Hello everyone, welcome to our spring training video series brought to you by the Nozzle Heads. We're a group of 4 BASF tech reps in the Midwest with over 30 years of combined field experience. Over the next 2 months, the Nozzle Heads will cover important, timely topics for use in the field this spring. From improving burn down to choosing nozzles to making sure you have the right herbicide, we hope to provide you useful and relevant information for your operation.
Welcome back to our spring training video series with the Nozzle Heads. And today, we're sitting here about the middle of March, and we've already had quite a wild ride in March. Some nice sunny warm days, getting some rain recently, and then we've had plenty of snow as well. So it's a roller coaster, and we're staring at some green out in some of these fields. Not a lot and not some big weeds, but brings about an excellent topic of the day, Brady.
Yeah, one of the things is when we get out there and we start thinking about controlling weeds is that we got to kind of be aware of what the temperatures are. It can be pretty tempting. We get, like I said, some moisture, some sunshine. We start thinking, hey, it's coming. We need to do some things, but we need to be aware of what we're doing. And when we're talking about spraying in this type of weather, we're talking burn down usually, and it's kind of going after a host of these weeds here that we have up on the screen. And we're looking at these winter annuals and trying to figure out how can we get these to control, because they're going to start popping and they're going to start growing, and we don't want to get them so far that we can't get control of them. So we're right to be in the idea that we want to try to be controlling them early, but we also want to make sure that they're actively growing.
Yeah, we don't really want to be putting out an application and only getting 10% of its value in controlling, mare's tail, henbit, chickweed, or even an earlier emerging summer annual like lamb's quarters. So we have to bear in mind, keep in mind the conditions of our application and kind of look at that with a little bit closer of a magnifying glass as to what can we change or what do we need to be mindful of. And temperatures, this is what we have to be watching the most. In the Midwest, a lot of us experience in the month of March, highs in the 40s, maybe in the 50s on average. So on average, we're talking about, temperatures, they don't really vary across Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois too much. Even though we do get roller coasters, we could be 10 degrees over the average or 15 degrees below.
That's the thing about March is it's highly variable, and if you really look at the daily temperatures, it's all over the board because you just never know. One day it can be 40, the next day it can be 50 out there. So I think this is a thing that when we're looking at what we need to be focused on, just keep in mind the variability that March holds when we're trying to make applications, and studying your forecast is probably a worthwhile tactic here when we're going towards this.
Yes, definitely, and looking a couple days ahead or stringing some days together. But some of our key points here on burn downs, spring temps, as we've been talking, they're extremely variable during March, even during April. Weeds are best controlled when they're small and actively growing. So those are conditions where we have, ideally temperatures 55 to 75, 80. Weeds are, growing their best in that temperature range. So we talk about 40s and 50s. Those weeds are growing very slowly compared to where they usually want to be in their optimum timing. Time for burn down is rarely ideal. So we certainly recognize that, battling wind, battling rain, but got to keep in mind those temperatures.
Right, and so usually if we're going to have a temperature we're going to kind of hold to that is 40 is kind of the minimum that we have with that. We don't want to be spraying much below that. And so 40 is kind of, and I would say that would be kind of the low temperature. Don't be thinking that, okay, hey, it got up to 40 today, I should be spraying. Think that it's kind of the low temperature. So when you look at that forecast, you may want a couple days before, you may want a couple days after that to do that, because the winter annuals can handle lower temperatures, but they're still going to be slow down on uptake. And so the uptake is the important part of what we're doing. And so when we're looking at that, we're thinking, what are the growing conditions that's back to this actively growing part that are going to continue that? If it gets real cold and gets that, like I said, that below 40, then that starts to be the whole thing. And then uptake is obviously the key here.
Yeah, and we talk about a lot of the burn down herbicides utilize glyphosate, the growth regulator herbicides like 2,4-D or dicamba. I mean, these are, very temperature dependent or more temperature dependent than some other herbicides like maybe a PPO herbicide such as Sharpen. Sharpen really loves sunlight. Sharpen really has excellent activity in that, and it's less dependent upon temperature than glyphosate and the growth regulators. But bear in mind that sunlight versus cloudy conditions has a lot of positive bearing on performance of any of these burn down herbicides, and they can all be effective even even dealing with temperature variations like we are.
Yeah, kind of a little bit like us. I mean, when you think about it, you want to have good weed killing weather is usually when we're feeling pretty good because we're like, oh, it's a really nice day out. Well, those are days that herbicides really being uptake and those type of things like that. So Eric and I kind of came up with, and we're calling this little lineup changes. And in the theme of the spring training series, these are things that we can do that will hopefully make this a little bit better.
Yeah, call in the bullpen, and we're switching pitchers, so to say, but there is a lot to be said about just waiting for better temperature conditions. I know, we're not going to sit here and believe that you can wait and continue to wait for the perfect day. But that is always an option, and when we're dealing with 35 or 30 for low temperatures, those are conditions that really it's best to just wait until we start to see a nice warmer trend and we have 2-3 days in a row strung together with good sunlight and solid temperatures. So waiting's definitely an option. And then Brady, these two here, I mean, we can change that up all the time.
Yeah, one of the things to help compensate some of this when we're talking glyphosate and growth regulators is we can look at using a little bit more product out there, having a slightly higher rate to increase that. And so it may be a 25% to a third increase in rate to help us manage that temperature swing and basically get more product in there because, again, it's back to uptake. So if we're not uptaking 100%, then we need to try to compensate for that to get that amount of product in there. And then, of course, adjuvants can be our friend here. They can help us get, because as the growing conditions are not good, it's usually because we have a difficult plant leaf surface or cuticle or whatever we're trying to get across. Those adjuvants can help us do that. Oils and surfactants are our friend in there to help us get through that.
Right, upgrading an adjuvant or ensuring you've got it. So although March is a roller coaster, no guarantee April won't be. So this is going to be something we think is going to be applicable here for a while yet during burn down season.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. The thoughts and comments expressed on these videos are the opinions of the nozzle heads. Be sure to like and subscribe down below to be notified of new content and videos.